Mr Deputy Speaker, since my statement to the House on the 18th of July, the Government has consulted extensively to secure evidence and ideas on international development that will transform our world. I pay tribute to the team of 15 officials who have worked night and day and most of their weekends for nearly 6 months under the leadership of Nick Dyer and Annabel Jerry, and to Geraldine Bedell and the Richard Curtis team who have helped with the shortened version of the International Development White Paper. We drew on the sharpest and most expert minds from NGOs, academia, business, nearly 50 governments around the world, and all political parties in the House. I particularly want to thank colleagues across the House for their contributions in shaping this White Paper. This is an area of policy which does not belong either to the Conservative Party or Labour. It is a British policy and a commitment as that. As the whole House knows, development has helped transform the lives of billions of people. The UK can be immensely proud of our distinct contribution to this incredible success story. 2 centuries ago, 3/4 of the world lived in extreme poverty. When I was born, around half still did. By 2015, when the world met the Millennium Development Goals, the proportion of a much larger global population had fallen to just 12%. The evidence shows, Mr Deputy Speaker, that development works. But the evidence also shows we now need to think how we do development. After decades of hard-won but persistent progress, we live in a world facing a daunting set of challenges, a world which is seeing rising poverty, where progress is in retreat, a world where the UN Sustainable Development Goals are nearly all off track for 2030. A world where faith in multilateral institutions is fading despite cooperation being desperately needed. A world facing a climate crisis, growing conflict and the prospect of further pandemics. A contested world where unity and solidarity are increasingly important, yet ever more difficult to achieve. This White Paper sets out a roadmap to 2030, charting the path the UK must take to galvanise global attention and lead by example in the fight to end extreme poverty, tackle climate change and address biodiversity loss. When it comes to international development, finance matters. This government has also been clear on our intention to return to 0.7% of GNI when the fiscal circumstances permit. But the White Paper also makes it clear that we will not achieve the SDGs through business as usual, official development assistance funding. We need a quantum leap in financing and investing which only the private sector can provide. The private sector is an essential engine of development, giving communities the building blocks for economic independence. Self-sufficiency is development's essential purpose, and our work with the UK private sector delivers back for taxpayers many times over. British Investment International, formerly known as CDC, is already a core part of the government's offer on international development. It has an impressive track record and now will go further and faster, investing in the hardest places. As suggested by the International Development Select Committee, to whom I pay tribute, BII will aim to make over half of its investments in the poorest and most fragile countries by 2030, while also enhancing its transparency, cementing its place as a world leader. Mr Deputy Speaker, the White Paper presents our vision for much-needed reform of the international financial system, mobilising greater finance from the private sector and scaling up the lending capacity of the international financial institutions. The UK has already pioneered the use of climate-resilient debt clauses, enabling vulnerable countries to hold off on debt repayments following an extreme weather event. Together with Prime Minister Mia Mottley and other supporters of the Bridgetown Initiative, we are driving reforms to the multilateral development banks so they can scale up financing for low and middle income countries. We will also work with institutional investors such as pension funds to plug the SDG's $3.9 trillion annual financing gap. Mr Deputy Speaker, international development and climate action are inseparable. Climate change and nature loss are being felt everywhere, and their impact will only intensify over the next decade. It will be most acute in developing countries, reversing fragile development gains, increasing food prices and compounding insecurity and instability. To meet this challenge, we must mobilise more and more reliable finance. We will deliver on our pledge to provide £11.6 billion in international climate finance in the 5 years up to 2026. We will ensure a balance between adaptation and mitigation financing and provide at least £3 billion to protect and restore nature. Britain's work on women and girls is paramount. We cannot understand development, Mr. Deputy Speaker, unless we see it through the eyes of girls and women. Increasing access to education, empowering women so they can decide for themselves whether and when they have children, and ending sexual violence are central to economic opportunity and growth. These rights are universal and should be non-negotiable. The White Paper extends and reinvigorates this work. We will use research and diplomacy to end the preventable deaths of mothers, babies and children. We will deploy policy and investment to defend and advance sexual and reproductive health and rights. Effective development, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is rooted in respectful partnerships of equals, but the government will continue to stand up for our values. We know that individual rights, the rule of law and strong institutions are essential to achieving sustainable development. Take, for example, the work of the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, to which members of Parliament make such a substantial contribution. It is the UK's leading champion of democracy globally. We are increasing our support for their work so we can support fairer, more inclusive and more accountable democratic systems around the world. We must also find better ways to anticipate and prevent humanitarian crises and the conflicts which often drive them. Conflicts and instability are on the rise and hold back development. By 2030, up to two-thirds of the world's poor will live in fragile and conflict-affected contexts. Humanitarian needs are at their highest since 1945, with twice as many needing assistance compared to 5 years ago. The resulting devastation is spreading across affected regions, as we've seen at present in the Sahel and the Middle East. The tragic events in Israel and Gaza bring home the humanitarian costs of conflict and violence, with women and children most directly affected. I am therefore pleased to announce today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that we will create a fund dedicating up to 15% of our bilateral humanitarian spend to support resilience and adaptation alongside our delivery of humanitarian relief, which next year we expect to amount to £1 billion. When I visited families in East Africa suffering the worst drought in 40 years, it was clear that the current focus on immediate relief comes at the cost of early thinking and building in resilience and adaptation for the future. This new fund will respond directly to this specific challenge. Innovation is at the heart of our efforts to transform lives through sustainable growth. The wondrous creativity of science and technology can address problems which money alone will never solve. Only by sharing research and innovating together can we make the breakthroughs our world needs. The world has never been so intimately connected, nor are fates so closely entwined. While we can rightly be proud of all we have done to deliver international development, the UK and our global partners must redouble our efforts given the challenges we faced to achieve these goals. We asked in this White Paper, Mr. Deputy Speaker, what the UK could do. We were told to make a new development offer based on mutual respect, powered by finance at scale, and supported by a more responsive international system. We have listened. This is what the White Paper will deliver. The Prime Minister has launched this White Paper to do development more effectively and differently, and yesterday's Global Food Security Summit is an example of this. I commend this statement to the House.
Thank you. I now call the Opposition